Hey folks, unfortunately I'm going to miss the first few weeks of Season 3. That's not how I planned it, but life just goes that way sometimes. Timelines don't line up and all that. But yeah, before I go, I did want to update the T-Pose Flappy Bird Strength Mage for Season 3. We didn't really see that many updates with the patch notes, so it's mostly going to be the same. The guide that I already put out in Season 2 will be your go-to source of information if you want to play this build. However, I will be giving a little bit more details and putting an updated planner for Season 3 with some new variants we have with the addition of the primordial items. Anyway, if you are looking for a build that is pretty tanky, scales really hard with gear, and personally, this is one of my favorite builds of all time, uh, this might be the build for you. It's super out of the box and can do multiple thousands of corruption if you want to put the time in. It can do Uberoth. It can potentially one-shot bosses if you spec for one-shotting. That's also an option. So it's just a really cool build that does a lot of things. Anyway, as I said, the most of the stuff is going to be the same as Season 2, so this guide, I will link in the description, will be your go-to information about how the build works, different gear options, progression, all that other stuff, rotations and whatever. All that info is going to be here, so check that out and go through. A lot of the questions about the build will be answered somewhere in here. But otherwise, we do have some new information here starting in the early late game. Everything, leveling, progression, all that stuff is going to be the same. So I've just put these planners for the late game. So the first one we have here is the early late game. This is going to be just the priority T7s and uniques that you're going to be working towards. It's pretty decent gear, but not like really crazy, no Uber stuff or anything like that. So yeah, this is what you're going to be working towards once you get to empowered monos. Just get gear that looks something like this. Then we have the no Uber variant, where it's pretty much the same thing. You have red rings, but no Uber items yet. Maybe you haven't killed Uberoth. Then we have some of the new ones here with some of the primordial stuff. So the first one here is going to be T8 VILATRIA. So one of the options you have is using your T8 on the helmet to T8 the VILATRIA set affix shard. So doing that gives you an additional 0.5 shock chance per int. With how much int we have, it's giving about an extra 90-ish shock chance. And this build gets 6% more damage per point of shock. So you're adding a lot of more damage onto your build by doing this. It also gives you an additional 20 flat lightning pen, which is basically like another more multi. So you're getting even more damage multiplier. This is going to be a pretty high damage affix. If you want to go for DPS, you can do something like this. The next option we have here is T8 Strength. So this is the one I think is probably going to be the most straightforward, simple option to just choose one. So here you get T8 Strength. It gives you plus 12 Strength over a T7. This build scales very hard with Strength. You're getting shock chance per int because a cleaver. Your Strength is int, so you're getting extra int, you're getting extra shock chance, you're getting extra armor, you're getting ward because of the Room Master passive, converting armor into ward. You're getting even more flat armor because of focus node, converting int into armor. Ward retention, increased damage, more damage here. Basically, strength does everything for this build. So getting more strength is just overall huge. It's just kind of a win. I think this is a safe bet. Then the next one we have is something super tanky. So this build in Season 2, the only thing that it kind of didn't do that well with was DOT mitigation. With something like this, I think that problem completely goes away because we do have block cap. You have the Bastion of Honor with all that and quite a bit of defense out of that. So just mitigating dots like this will basically delete all of the threats that you might have. I don't know how easy it's going to be to get an item like this with T8 Experimental, so we'll have to see what that looks like, but if you can get something like this, you should be pretty close to Immortal, I would think. So this is definitely a really good option. Another one, a bit of a wild card, is Reliquary Nets. So this is times 1.6 on all of the idols that you have, the non-unique idols. We get a lot of power on this build out of our idols. The 2x1 idols here, 30% shock chance. We have 8 of them, so this is 240 shock chance times 1.6 from Reliquary next, and it's also doing that on the suffixes. So you have word per second, word retention here, or whatever else you want. Also times 1.6, that's pretty huge. Just the damage and defense and whatever else you're getting out of that, it's quite a lot. It also has a bit of all attribute and all res, so this is an option. I don't actually know if it's going to be better than Uber Relic if you can get that, but definitely worth a try. There could be some other cool stuff you could do with it. And if you're not using Uber Relic, you probably want haste from focus. So if you have the Uber Relic, you have perma haste. If not, you can get haste here. And then finally, as always, we have a glass cannon version using the Jorah Star Dial. This setup will give you multi-million ticks on bosses before your gear is even that min-maxed. Jorah rings are just super insane for any build like this, especially if you can use attributes and Ellie dot on the ring. Multiplying this with Jorah is just stupid amounts of damage. And even though you're not capped on res, your armor is a bit lower, you're not crit mitigation capped, this is still surprisingly tanky just because of how much innate tankiness this build has. But you're probably not going to want to map with this. This is more of like a boss killer build. You can even take it further if you want, and you could do something like Vion Chariot. So if you spec Runic Invocation into Traversal, this more damage will get applied to the Runic, which gets transferred onto the brand of deception you're applying. So that gets a more multi here if you want. This is something that you can do for big damage setup, but I found it a little bit awkward personally. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where we're at. I think that this is going to be a pretty cool build in Season 3, especially if you already liked it in Season 2. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Hope you have a good time. Definitely let me know your thoughts. I'm going to try to update all of this stuff when I come back in a couple weeks. So whatever information, you can let me know in the comments. Anything that might be different, I will update. So yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.